Welcome. My name is Penny Rosema, and you're listening to the Cookware Manufacturers Association podcast. One of our goals at the association is to keep our members informed. Now, you can find more information about our association from our website, cookware.org. In today's podcast, our discussion is focused on freight management cost. How do you know your freight costs are competitive? Joe Compton is our guest. He's the owner and founding member of Freight Management LLC and Freight Technology. And Joe is the transportation and logistics expert. So you can find more information about his organization on their website, which is frtmgt.com. Now, in our conversation today, we'll share what a freight management company can do for you. CMA members have taken advantage of this program and have saved millions in freight costs over the past years. And it's important for you to note that the association does not receive any compensation or money from this freight management relationship with Freight Management LLC. When our members participate in the program, all the benefits are applied directly to the participant. And with that, I'd like to welcome Joe to our podcast. How are you today, Joe?
Doing great. Thank you, Penny.
Good. It's great to have you. I really appreciate you taking time to talk with us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You betcha. One of the first questions is, let's start with the basics. What does a Freight Management LLC provide to a CMA member?
Well, Penny, that's a good question. We start very simply with what we call a free freight cost assessment. We look at where the company is incurring freight expense, what cost they incur by mode of transportation. It could vary from small package to LTL or truckload or imports or exports. And we give them feedback on whether we feel like they're paying fair market value or overpaying based on our opinion and our knowledge and experience in the industry.
Sounds very intriguing. And for our listeners who might not be familiar with how that evaluation would work, is it lengthy? Is it time consuming? Is it a big process they have to work through?
Well, Penny, actually, it is very, very simple. We just need a representative sample of freight invoices for each mode of transportation that they are concerned with or use, and or a file of that invoice data. And most of the time, it's just that simple, just to email us that information for our review.
Now, it's very interesting. I come from a manufacturing world, and I can put myself in a position where all of a sudden my boss comes in and says, hey, we're going to have this freight company evaluate all the freight costs that we have. And I can imagine it could be intimidating if you're the person responsible for that, freight management. What is this going to look like? Am I not doing my job? But I don't think that's really what we want our listeners to think about. We talked about this a little bit. Can you explain the better mindset a person might have when you come into an organization and review their freight?
Yes, Penny, thank you. That's a very good question. If I was the owner of a company, I would surely want to ensure that we're competitive in the marketplace. And even though we may have excellent employees in logistics or in their distribution departments that make these decisions and negotiate agreements with various modes of transportation, they may be doing an excellent job, but they can only base that job that they're doing or their performance on year to year, what they've been able to improve from one year to the next. They're really not in tune possibly with the marketplace across the country. And we do this throughout the year across the country in all modes of transportation with various different market segments. And we feel like bringing in somebody from outside the little fishbowl that their personnel lives in every day, we can bring better insight into what can be improved. It's not a measurement against what their employees have done, but it's a measurement to say, how can our company improve to compete nationwide better? And we help assist them do that.
That's very interesting, because I can imagine, it depends upon the size of the organization, that you could actually even have someone that has multiple responsibilities. The freight cost is, management is one of them. And so they're wearing many hats, and how is it possible to be an expert in every area? It reminds me of a friend of mine who actually runs a similar organization, and they look at cell phone cost, your portable devices. And they do the same thing, where they come in, they're negotiating contracts all the time and looking at them so they know what's current and what's changing. It's probably similar in your industry. Things change from year to year, that if you're not up on what's going on, it could cost you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, and it does. And one thing you can be guaranteed about the freight industry, it is dynamic. It changes, constantly.
I do a commodity report every month, and I'll make sure that I put this podcast link into that commodity report. And I hope we'll get some feedback from people and get some conversation going about this exact topic. Well, I'm on that subject though. Have you worked with any of our members? Do you have any stories to share with us?
Absolutely, Penny. We're very proud to say that for the past 12 years, we've been actively involved in CMA members. We first started working 12 years ago with Wilton Brands, and over those years, they were bought out 3 times and have changed management multiple times. But we helped them save millions of dollars over those years in their distribution expense, and provided all types of analysis for distribution, relocation, and so forth. We're currently, and we have worked for the past 10 years with a legacy food service products. They also go by Cookware. They're a current member of CMA, and we work directly for Brett Gross, the president of that company, and anyone is welcome to contact him for a referral. Over the years, we've helped them reduce their supply chain costs thousands of dollars, and provided ongoing advisory services and analysis for their growth and success. And during that time, when we started doing business with them, they were basically a regional West Coast distributor of products, and now they're distributing nationwide and can do that because their costs are competitive.
Great stories, great stories. I want to remind listeners that they are listening to the Cookware Manufacturers Association podcast. And this is Joe Compton sharing his insights on lowering your freight costs. And those savings go right to the bottom line, right, Joe?
Absolutely. It's considered to be pure profit. If we could save somebody $100,000 and their margin of profit on their business is 10%, they have to manufacture, hire, and sell $1 million worth of profit, dollars of a product, to put that same type of profit to the bottom line. And usually we can do that within 30 days just by renegotiating some of their freight agreements.
That's very interesting. And you can find more information about Joe, and we're going to add some more questions here, but I just want to remind you that his website is frtmgt.com. And then also we'll have a link for this information on the Cookware Manufacturers Association website, which is the link for members only. So people have a couple of ways. And of course, they can always reach out to me too. But let's get back to the conversation. Joe, I can tell there could be some confusion for people. Is this your organization, what we're talking about, 3PL reseller or freight rate, freight rates, or are you a broker? Or are you different than that?
Penny, thank you for asking that question. Matter of fact, we go out of the way to try to make sure companies know that we are different. We are not a reseller of freight rates. We are not a broker. We don't consider ourselves a traditional 3PL, third-party logistics provider, in that you're buying your freight or moving your transportation through us. We don't do that at all. We come in and team up and assist companies and help bring their freight programs or keep their freight programs in-house versus having to outsource their freight needs to resellers or brokers. This eliminates the middleman, which is the 3PL or broker, and lowers their freight costs, usually 10 to 20% alone.
Now, how does the contract with you work? Do you take a percentage of it? Is it a flat rate charge? What would they expect on the pricing side of that?
Well, we've actually never cost our clients anything, because we come in and if we can assist and help them in any way, we'll design a program specifically for them that we can be paid out of actual savings, and do that on a monthly percentage of savings basis, or we can negotiate just a flat monthly fee to provide those services.
Sounds like a win for both of you. Sounds like a great, some great opportunities. Um, let's talk a little bit about who Freight Management LLC is. Who are you? What is your background? How did you get to this place with this level of expertise?
Well, Penny, there are three of us that actually own Freight Management LLC. We actually incorporated our business in 2005, and we've been successful to stay in business all those years, and we're proud of that. But we have a combined industry knowledge and experience of over 90 years between the three owners. This is personally my 41st year in the industry. I started in the transportation industry and retired in 2005 from that when we started our company. But we have a worth of experience in transportation and distribution, logistics, and information technology within the industry. So we've got all those areas covered within our company. So there's no secrets or gimmicks to what we do and how we help companies. We just apply our knowledge and experience to help your members.
Is there any company too small or too big? Is there a niche of a size of a company that works best for using your services?
Generally, Penny, we can help anyone, but due to just reasonableness of doing business, we look for companies that generally spend $500,000 or $500,000 a year in freight expense, but there's no upper limit. We have a current client that their total annual freight spend is close to $100 million. So no one is too large, but we do like to try to keep the customers at $500,000 and above.
Gotcha. That helps a lot. That's great information. Let's talk a little bit, if you don't mind. Are there any current issues in the cookware industry that we should know about and understand as it relates to freight rates or ratings, those topics? What's happening out there?
Yes, Penny, I'm glad you asked, because in the past couple of years, the National Motor Freight Classification Guide, which is the industry guidebook to determining what class of rating that a particular commodity moves under, cookware items within that guide, several of the classifications have changed, and that means that they have changed the way that product is shipped and classified, which means that they've increased the cost of those items. Whereas in the past, several cookware and kitchenware items have been what we call a fixed class. They may have carried a fixed class of class 85 or class 100. Those items now have been changed to a density-based rating. And so now they could go from as low as a 70 rating to as high as a class 400 rating. And obviously they don't make these changes unless they're trying to improve their revenue. So there's been multiple changes in the industry the last couple of years in the cookware section of items. And we highly recommend that each member use us to help understand if they've been affected by these changes, and allow us to look at their product line and their classifications and see if we can help minimize or offset that cost increase that they may have incurred and not even know about it.
Right. That's an example of what stuff that just kind of floats in that might be under the radar for somebody that isn't working with us day in and day out. Great information. Well, we're getting close to the end here, and I would love to know if you have any final words of advice, like how can members contact you and have a discovery conversation and, just see if it applies to their industry, applies to what you have to offer. How would they get a hold of you?
Penny, they can just simply call my cell number at any time, 24/7, and that number is 205-307-8970. That's 205-307-8970. We can provide a free freight cost assessment to start, and no member has anything to lose. If I owned a company and had somebody that's willing to come in and review my freight expense at no charge, that's a no-lose. There's no obligation for that. And we will give you immediate feedback if we think there's opportunities for you to improve your bottom line. Then if you want us to, we can come in and custom develop and negotiate new freight programs to control and reduce their freight expense, and we can ensure the proper classifications are being utilized. We also provide pre-audit services for all their freight invoices. Many companies still today receive paper invoices from all their different freight carriers, whether it's small package, truckload, LTL, or whatever. And we have the ability to receive those invoices on their behalf via EDI, and we can systematically pre-audit those invoices to ensure that they're rated properly according to their classifications and the terms of their agreements. And if they're not, we handle all the freight bill reconciliation back to those providers, so the shipper or your customer never sees any incorrect freight bills. They only will receive a approved file from us on a weekly basis, and we can send that back to them in various forms of Excel files or EDI processes for them to just enter and pay in their system, and they can ensure that they're not paying any duplicate invoices or overpaying for any invoices. And if they are still receiving paper invoices, then obviously we need to help them eliminate that needless work of handling paper and having someone review those. And most of the time, they can't actually audit the proper rating on those bills themselves internally. So we provide all those services, and we'd love the opportunity to assist any of your members. Just give us a call and ask for the free assessment, and we'll start there, and they'll get to know us, and we'll get to know them, and we'll go from there.
You know, it's very interesting. You could do an incredible job negotiating a wonderful contract, but unless it's enforced properly, you really didn't get anything. And that, it sounds to me like what you provide there. So that's wonderful information. I'll repeat your phone number one more time. It's 205-307-8970. And listeners, you're on the Cookware Manufacturers Association podcast. This has been Joe Compton sharing his insight and comments on saving your company money on freight cost. We really appreciate your time that you took today, Joe, to give us some background information and being so generous with your contact information so people can reach out to you. Thank you so much.
Penny, thank you, and we thank the members that we work for, and we look forward to working for any member that has never been able to contact us prior to now.
So, listeners, you're listening to Penny Rosema. I'm recording for the Cookware Association. If you'd like more information about our association, the CMA, my email is prosema@cookware.org. And you can find more information about our association at the website cookware.org. Just to remind listeners, we maintain and update the engineering standards for the production of cookware and bakeware. Our association provides statistical monthly reporting. We are a resource for retailers, including training guides for cookware and bakeware. And when you're part of our organization, you're working with and meeting and getting to know members in your network. And our members are the best professionals in the industry. So I encourage you to reach out to us if you're not already a member, for those listening on our public broadcast. And of course, you have, as a member, real-time access to these podcasts. You can find more information again at cookware.org. But we need your feedback too. If you have a topic that you think would be valuable for an interview, send your recommendations to me and I'll get it on the next podcast. If you have any other questions, again, you can reach out to us, myself or Joe. One last time, Joe's email address, his web address is frtmgt.com, and his phone number is 205-307-8970. Thank you again, Joe.
Thank you, Penny, and have a great day.
Right. I certainly will. The sun's shining here, and I'm looking forward to a nice afternoon. And that makes a wrap for this episode. Thank you for listening. I hope everyone enjoys the day.